Hi friends, Shanna Cramer here with Creatively Uncorked. And if you like Christmas painting as much as I do, stick around. You and me are going to paint this together. This painting is nice and simple, very few tools, probably tools you have in front of you already. All you're going to need is a canvas, a cup for tracing a circle, a couple of brushes. In this case, the only brushes needed are going to be a 3/4 inch flat and a 1/4 inch flat. That's all I used on this painting. You're also going to need a couple of paper towels. One to dry your brushes on, and one to use as a brush to paint this background. Have a cup of water handy. So the paint colors that we used on this are going to be red, black, white. You can see those here. And then I have green and copper. In the background, I did also use a little bit of silver, so silver, black, and white in the background. And that is totally up to you. I just like that faded sort of a foggy look. So let's get started. If you stick around until the end, I'll tell you how to get a really good deal on more Christmas tutorials plus the downloads with the traceables. This deal is only available to people who watch this video, so stick around so you can get that. First, we are going to start with the background. I'm thinking like a nice misty, gray, foggy-ish, snowy-ish day. White. I'll try a little dot of black. And what the heck, how about a touch of silver? What I have here is my blank canvas, taking my paper towel, crumpling it up, putting it in the water, squeeze out the excess water. I still have my crumpled paper towel, and with this, I'm going to cover my background. Just sticking my paper towel there into some white and silver and giving it a good smush around. More white. So where I'm kind of thinking about where I'm going to have the elements on this painting. I'm planning to put the bulb right around here somewhere. So I just want to make sure I have more white in that area in the background. It's definitely okay to have some silver, but more white. A little more white. Make sure we have enough white on here that it's going to look foggy. I'll take a little bit more silver coming on some of the edges. Don't forget the white. Did I mention you should use white on the background? Use a lot of white on the background. All right. A little more fogginess. Okay, so just to add some more texture to the background, it's nice and gray and foggy now, but I want dark spots. Let's get some blacks in there too. The only place that I don't want to put really dark colors is where my bulb will go. Everywhere else is fair game. Or white. What do you think of that pattern? I'm kind of liking it. Okay, a little bit of silver left. I'll just put that on right down here. All right, we have a nice, oopsies, blurry, foggy pattern on the background. Okay, now we are not going to touch the background again, so make sure this is how you want it and how you like it before moving on to the next step. We're going to let this dry and come back and plan our sketch and sketch out our painting. At this point, go ahead and hit pause. We'll take a break for drying the background, and I'll see you back here when you're ready to get going again. Here we are back again, and we have our canvas background finished, and this is now dry. We are ready to start sketching our Christmas scene. So I have a pencil and I have a cup handy, right? Because this cup is the size that I want it to be for the Christmas bulb. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that down on my canvas. You decide where you want your Christmas bulb to be. Generally a lighter spot of the canvas is good. Okay, so there's my Christmas bulb. If I want to draw the top of that, I can. It's just a little rectangle on top of that circle. So now I know I'll have a string here somewhere, and then I'll have to have a branch that this attaches to. So moving that aside so I don't stick my hand in the wet paint or water. All right, so now I just want to kind of decide where my branches go. I know I'm going to have a branch here. Okay, that's one that the whole thing is going to hang off of, but that's not the only branch. Let's see. So one tip, you don't want to put your branches coming out of the corners. You don't want any weird tangents, so I'll just bring mine right to the edge over here. And this will be a little bit thicker once I get paint on there. I'll have some branches coming up here. Okay. That's how they're going to look, kind of. You don't mind my scribbles, it's fine. Let's see, I'll have another branch that comes right down here. Okay, so now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is an odd number of branches, so that is going to be just fine. It kind of surrounds my Christmas bulb here, so I think our sketches are good enough at this point, and we are ready to get started. Pencil aside. Now I am going to start out with the brown parts of the branch, or actually in this case, I have a little bit of copper because all Christmas paintings should sparkle. So instead of brown, we're going to try something a little bit different here, and I'm going to go with black and copper. I'm starting with my big flat brush. Just dunk that in the water a little bit. And then I'll take some copper and some black and mix those together. Okay, this copper is a very transparent color, and the black is opaque. So I'm trying to get them in the right amount so that it's going to cover the background and still be shimmery. So you go ahead and just work that out with your own paints. And if you don't have copper, that's fine. You can use brown, you can use any branch color that you want to use instead. Black and orange will make a nice brown. All right, so now I'm just taking my flat brush, starting with the skinny edge. And hold on, let me get you the side camera. All right, so now up here, you're going to see that side camera. And that is going to give you a better view. When I put my big old hand right in front of the camera, you'll still be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm starting up at the end of the branch, the tree side of the branch, leading with the skinny edge. More pressure for a thicker branch, lighter touch for a thinner branch. Lead with that skinny edge. Boom. Done. Okay, moving on to the next one. Picking up a little bit more of that paint. And the rest of these branches are going to be pretty skinny, so I'm just going to start right up in here. Don't press too firmly because none of this is going to be too thick. Okay, tilting and lifting off. Okay, you see how I'm leading with the skinny edge and have it at an angle here? Okay, I'll do a couple more. So here's one. Here's one. And the last one. Okay, so those are going to be my branches. Pro tip, don't try to fix them once they're down. Just let them go, let them be. All right, so now I'm going to stop with my branches. Let this go. I'll take my big fat brush and just toss that in the water for now. I'll be switching brushes here in just a second so that I can get all of my small little pine needles in. All right, so I've got my branches on and I'm ready to get started on some of those pine leaves. So I've switched to my smaller flat brush here, and you'll notice this has long bristles, and that's just so that it holds more paint, which is a very desired outcome. So I'll come back in here into my green, and because I don't want it to be too overpoweringly green, I'll mix in a little of my black and copper mixture into that green. Okay, make sure it's fluidy, so if you need to add water to it, mix water, dip your brush in the water, and mix it into the paint on your palette, okay? Before taking it over to the canvas, you don't want to add water to your canvas. Let's see now. So again, leading with the skinny edge, take a look at the side angle camera if that helps, and try to do as few brush strokes as possible, long, steady brush strokes if you can. If you can't, I get it. So these are the big pine needles. There are a few different types of pine trees that have these big long pine needles that are kind of soft. Like if they all fall on the ground, you can walk on it in your bare feet. They're so soft. Norway pine is one. I'm not sure the names of all of the others. Okay, so now I've got some greens in there. I'm just going to pick up that darker color, just kind of anchor some of those greens to the branch. It just feels like it's a little more substantial and a little more connected that way, at least to me. Okay, I'm gonna let that go now. And I'll come back over this and layer some other colors in there. But for now, I'm just going to let that be. A little bit more water on my brush. Taking that dark green again, that dark green mixture, which is the green, a little black, a little copper. Okay, and just I'll move right on to my next branch there. And hopefully between the side angle and the above angle cameras, you can see what's happening here. I'm just drawing each of my pine needles coming right out from that branch. If you need to connect your needles a little bit more boldly to your branch, just go back into that darker color and just connect them. I think a little bit more green in that one. All right, back up to my next branch. A little water. You want to keep mixing in a little bit of water with your paint mixture. You want it to flow smoothly enough that it can cover a lot of ground, and that can only happen if your paint is flowing smoothly, like by adding water or using a very fluid acrylic in the first place. Okay, now this one's a lot brighter green, so let me get some darker colors. Okay. Oh, and you see how these branches are starting to look like they're overlapping? Isn't that nice? Okay, picking up some of that darker color now and just anchoring some of these pine needles so they look like they're actually stuck to the branch instead of stuck next to it. And don't worry, we'll do more layers of color. Okay, we're just getting our basic branch down there. All right, now I'll move up to this one next. Same deal. Take my green again. Liquidy green, remember to mix some water in there. And probably a little more water than that. Keep it fluid. A little bit more copper mixed into my green. Keep it flowing. Besides, I don't want this really bright glowing green, you know. You just rarely see that. Not that this is going to be a completely natural photo. I mean, this might be a bulb hanging out of a fake Christmas tree after all. But the bright greens, I kind of like to fade them into something a little more natural. That's why I'm mixing in the black and the copper. Because black and copper trees are totally natural. All right, moving on. And my last little branch here, taking the green, mix with a little black and copper again. Add water so it flows smoothly. And just like before. Now I'm keeping the paintbrush straight up and down on the canvas, perpendicular to the canvas. And then just dragging the long brush strokes to make the long pine needles. And this is just kind of falling right off the edge, so don't be afraid to let those needles fall off the edge. I think we can bring some of the needles back up here a little bit higher. Okay, now I'm going back into that darker color and connecting a few of my needles to the branch. I think I'm running out of my darker color here. All right, that's good enough. All right, now my first branch is getting dry enough that I can come back and go over that with my second color. But before that happens, I want to fill in the background color of my bulb. So for that, I'll switch back to the overhead so you can see what I'm doing over here. I'm cleaning out my water, or cleaning out my big flat brush, wiping off the excess water. And now going into that red paint. Okay, load up the brush with red. All right, so now a flat brush like this. Just drag it right along the edge, inside edge of your circle. Do this slowly. Take your time with this because if you mess this up, this is going to be really hard to fix. No pressure. Let's see. Rotate my canvas around so hopefully I'll not stick my hand in the wet paint. Okay, circle-y enough. All right. So there we are. We have a Christmas bulb, and you can, of course, adjust this as necessary. Brush goes back in the water. Back to my small flat brush with those long bristles. And this time I'm going to take copper. And my branches are mostly dry now, so coming up here and scribbling copper. Just scribble, scribble, scribble. You want this to look rough, kind of like, barky, branchy. So this is where we're going to get some of the sparkle in this painting. Isn't that lovely? Scribble it on. You're not covering the whole branch, just some touches here and there. Okay, a little bit more of that copper. Now we're going to go into those leaves again, or needles, I should say. Again, make sure your paint is liquidy and flowy, so add water to it if you need to. Doesn't matter that our paint is transparent because we're putting several layers on. Continuing on with these needles, just a little copper, liquidy copper, flowing right over the top of some of those needles. No need to go overboard. We're just adding some sparkle and a little bit of warmth. That nice warm copper color. And it goes so nicely with the red too, doesn't it? A little bit more copper. Okay, so now we've got our branches basically done. Don't forget to let your needles fall right off the side there. The branches are basically done at this point. We have a few touches left to finish our bulb, so let's start that next. One of the things that this bulb is going to have is the top. Just a little boop. Just our little rectangle up there. This is one area, well, I will totally allow you to cheat and use a Sharpie. If you want to use a Sharpie to draw on that little, hook, circle, hanger. I have a brush in hand, so I'll just use that. And and yes, it's kind of a big brush. I'm just using the corner of it. It works just fine. A little bit more black, and now I want to connect this to my branch. Okay, this line's pretty important that it's straight up and down. I hope mine is. Okay. All right, well now I have a bulb hanging from the tree. That brush is going back in the water. Now let's try some blending. So to get a true blend, which is what we're after here, is a true blend, we mix two colors together. One of them is going to be the background color, which is red. Going almost, I'm leaving a gap around the edge. My shadow is going to be over here. Maybe the shadow will be right on the bottom. Okay, so now my shadow color, let's see if we can get a nice dark shadow color there by mixing my red and my green. Ooh, that's a dark shadow color, isn't it? Okay, wipe that paint off. Back to the just red, and blend the two colors together. Wipe the brush off, blend the two colors together. Wipe the brush off, blend the two colors together. Okay, whenever you're working with a blend like this, it's so easy to pick up colors and then end up accidentally dropping them where you didn't want them. So to avoid that, you just clean off your brush every brush stroke. Every time. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse off that brush. I think that is plenty enough shadow right there. So rinsing out this brush and going into the white paint. Just a little bit of the white paint. And whoop. What do you think? Make it better? Okay. There, and a little bit of a blend. I don't want to do this too much because if I blend it a lot, it's going to turn pink, and I may not want it to be pink. I maybe want it to be just white or light red. So actually, I think I'm going to leave it like this, as is. So we got a nice big reflection, we've got a nice shadow, we've got our tree branches. What do you think? Does it need anything else? A signature maybe? And as promised, I did tell you that I would tell you how to get a really good deal on some new Christmas paintings. So if you go over to the link in the bottom, I'm going to have to give you a link because that link will take you directly to the product and it's at members.creativelyuncorked.com. So once you get there, then you're going to see a Christmas package, and that's right on the home page. And when you get down to that Christmas package, you are going to find a whole bunch of Christmas paintings completely with walkthrough tutorials, with downloads for the traceables. That's only for $47. So, and this is a temporary price. That is not going to happen forever, and it's not going to happen for everyone. Thank you for painting with me, and I will see you next time.